everybody, Falisha Rexford here. If you have been listening to real estate podcasts or watching real estate investing YouTubes, or you're in the real estate world, then you may have heard the term house hacking. What is house hacking? I've got some really great ideas, and I want to tell you a little bit about my house hacking adventures and stories, to include some new age ideas that I think may just help you. So what is house hacking? Let's just start with the basics. So essentially, house hacking is a concept or a term that we've coined over a few years, and I think it actually was generated on Bigger Pockets with Brandon Turner and all those guys. But essentially, it means that you own a property, you live in a property, and you rent out rooms or areas of that property to other people. So interestingly enough, my husband and I actually house hacked, didn't know I was house hacking, for the first 7 years of our marriage. We looked at it as being frugal or cheap or whatever you want to call it, on a budget. So we purchased a house, we moved into the master bedroom, we looked around and we went, well, we have 2 other rooms, let's just rent those out. Essentially what we were doing was house hacking. And the beauty behind house hacking and what it did for my husband and myself was, for the first 7 years of our marriage, we ended up doing that. We ended up renting out or subletting our extra spaces in our house. So for the first 7 years of our marriage, we never paid a mortgage because we allowed the people that were living in our home to pay our mortgage. What did that allow us to do? Well, we were able to save, and sure enough, one day purchase our first investment property, and then our second investment property. And then, oh yeah, I held my first home, bought another bigger home with more rooms, continued renting out the first home, and guess what? House hacked all of the bedrooms in the new and improved big home. So this is an idea and a concept for all of you who may want to get into real estate investing and you want to own a home. Maybe you're purchasing your first home. How can you do that in a way that will allow you to save money for future investments? I would highly suggest that you sit down and think about house hacking that first home purchase. Now, what are the cons with house hacking bedrooms? And this is where I would say most people just, they put on the brakes. They don't want to do it. And it always kind of frustrates me a little bit because there's so much positivity that could come from it. It's a little bit of pain for a lot of bit of gain. Say it again. It's a little bit of pain for a lot of bit of gain. So you're purchasing your first home. The feedback that I get is, I don't really want to share my space with anybody else. You know, I like my space. I like to walk around in my boxers or my chonies or whatever the case may be. Well, I would say that if you really want to jumpstart your real estate investing career or your savings account or all of these amazing things that you can do by saving money, it's something that you can consider. And it's just for a short time. I did it for 7 years. Maybe you only have to do it for a couple to save enough money to be able to buy your first investment property or your first duplex. That's actually a good segue, Felicia. Thank you, Felicia. If you don't want to share your actual space, i.e. you don't want somebody living in the space, sharing your common areas like your kitchen, things like that, then the next way of house hacking would be to purchase a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, live in one of the units. That at least gives you that kind of solidarity, right? But then rent out the other units. So if you buy a duplex, live on one side, rent out the other. That's the concept. And if your mortgage costs, let's say $1,800, hopefully that one side, renting out that one side would be able to pay your mortgage. So there you go. Your tenants are paying off your mortgage while you're able to pocket a little bit more money and then go buy something else. So that would be one way that you can actually gain space or gain some of that kind of, I want my own personal room back. Next, I'd like to talk about the Airbnb option. Now, this is always going to depend on state, city laws, and of course, HOAs. A lot of people live in HOAs where a house has rules and regulations that you have to adhere to. And many HOAs do not want you renting short term. Actually, in my home that we're standing in now, I've reviewed my HOAs and I have to rent out for a minimum of 1 month, which I have done before. because I wasn't breaking any rules. So Airbnb is always a really fun option. If you have a casita or an additional outbuilding, or maybe you convert a garage to living space where somebody could have their own entrance, you could always sublease it on Airbnb. And again, those people wouldn't be interacting with you on the day-to-day basis, so that would be great. So I've kind of covered 3 basic ways to house hack. You purchase a home, you move into it. You rent out your rooms. Funny story, actually, totally not off topic, but I do want to share it with you. That first house that I said I bought, that 3-bedroom where I lived in the master and I rented out the other 2 rooms, I realized that I was onto something. And one time a friend came to me and was like, do you have a place to stay? And I said, no, I don't have any rooms left, but I have a couch. And instead of paying $500 for the bedrooms, he actually paid like $200 to lay on the couch for like, I don't know, it was like a month and a half or whatever. So all I'm saying is get creative. Once you own a piece of property, there's a lot of ways to make money off of it. So again, I did just go over some like 3 basics. You purchase a house, you move into the house. You rent out all of the bedrooms. That makes sense. But I don't want to share my space. Okay, another option would be to purchase a duplex or triplex or fourplex. Live in one unit, rent out the other units. That was another option. That third option being the Airbnb idea. You have an outbuilding or a casita or something like that that you can sublease. That's a wonderful option. Now, just because I like kind of thinking outside the box, this whole segment has me thinking about how you may have new aged opportunities right now in the home that you're living in that you're not even thinking about. So here are some fun ones to consider. 1, I'm shooting a YouTube video right now, and I'm not doing it in my normal space, but maybe I wanted to go shoot a YouTube video in a really cool looking space. Maybe you have a setup that you're already using that you could lease out. I mean, it's kind of like house hacking, right? That you can lease out and have somebody else rent. Or a podcast studio. I know that that's happening. People will set up a podcast studio. They're using it anyways, but when they're not, they're renting it out. Another really fun option that I'm seeing people do right now is parking RVs. I live in a more rural part of Las Vegas, and there are many people out here that have large plots of land, and they may not be using a section of that land, and they know a lot of people need RV storage. So they will actually rent out pieces of their land for people to park their RV storage on. And when you start looking at these people's homes and they've got 10 RVs sitting back there and you know that they're charging $200 a pop, that is a way of passive income or a way to offset bills or a way to pay your mortgage, etc., freeing your money up for bigger, better opportunities. Okay, so today I just wanted to cover what is house hacking and some examples of house hacking and even some little stories of how I was house hacking before I knew it was house hacking. I just thought that I was being frugal and cheap and renting out rooms. But that's what it is. It's owning a property, living in the property, and then sub-renting sections of that property, whether that be a bedroom, a land, etc. If you have any questions or you have any more kind of detailed ideas of what you want to talk about, if you want me to dive into some numbers, if you want to talk about loan options, things like that, please leave a comment below. I'll be happy to answer all the comments and do some additional videos too to help you out with all your house hacking adventures. It's very hard to say, house hacking, house hacking, house hacking. So anyways, at the end of the day, remember that if you have any real estate related questions, who's your homegirl? I'm your homegirl.